The theme for this year's World Social Work Day, Buen Vivir, Shared Future for Transformative Change. This morning, I have Simone Alexander-Jakie, who is
Yes.
representing the National Family Services Division inside the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, and she is actually the coordinator of Suicide Prevention Hotline. Good morning to you, Simone.
Good morning.
How
Thanks
are you
very
doing?
much for having me this morning.
Not a problem. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty okay.
Yeah?
Yes,
Now, we
thanks.
started celebrating World Social Work Day in 2007. But tell me, what does that celebration actually mean?
So that celebration is really a global celebration where every country in the world celebrates social workers, the impact, the work that is done over the period. So in 2007, they actually formally launched celebration of World Social Workers.
Now, tell me about social workers in terms of the details of the job. What does the job entail to be a social worker in the first place?
So first thing, to become a social worker, you need to have a first degree in social work. In addition to, after attaining your degree, you have to look at mentorship and training. So in doing your degree, it have practicum where you have to do 360 hours of practical hours to attain that level of specialization. Social workers could be found in any field of practice. So they practice in schools, hospitals, general setting. So when you look at social workers, we are diverse in any community.
But
So
tell me about the work that's done. So
So the
social
work-
workers, what do they do?
Right, so we do counseling, we do mediation, we do teaching, lecturing. So it's wide and varied. We do community work, community activism, we do advocate for clients on to attain services, yeah.
And why is it important for us to celebrate World Social Work Day in today's society?
It is important because the work of social workers are not recognized. We are recognize the kind of work is being done. So usually a disaster happens, something happened in the world or in the country, they look at either the lawyer, the economist, but not the social worker. But when we go back to social problem and social issues and problems of the family, it comes back down to the intervention of social work. How do we now rear our children? So we look at socialization and how it impact upon the individual, family, or group.
Okay, so we're breaking it down. As far as we're concerned, I mean, society oftentimes, like you said, we would reflect and look to the Ministry of National Security when we see crime going astray. But we're saying that we have social workers who can deal with this problem, who have been dealing with this and have been seeing the on-the-ground challenges. Can you tell me some of the challenges that social workers face?
Right, so some of the challenges that social workers face would be like policies that is not really meeting the needs of the people. And sometimes, trying to get service for them, it is very difficult. And it's just sometimes because people really don't understand the role and function of a social worker, how we mitigating and helping and advocating on a client's behalf. So if we start putting more emphasis on the social aspect of even to reduce crime, we look at the family, so we utilize the skill set of social worker in negotiations, in planning, in projects. So it is a wide field, and we have a wide set of resources, expertise to deal with situations. So if we are looking at policy and creating policy, effective policy, we should seek the advice or the suggestions of social workers because we are quite capable of meeting the needs of society.
What are some of the resources that social workers need?
So, of course, we need tools to function. So without the tools to do your job, you cannot function effectively. So providing, and again, it comes back down to policy. Having creative, do a needs assessment, and out of the needs assessment, then you will know the tools that you would need to function in that capacity. So if you're in the medical setting, then you know that you need to liaise with the doctors. We might need referral letters. We might need, if it's medication, advocating, prosthetic legs. It depends on the role and function in that setting.
And this sounds I mean, you did say it was wide and varied, right?
Yes.
But you mentioned from medical, go all the way back. So it's not just dealing with talking to people and making sure your family life is okay.
No, even in trauma, when it have disasters, social workers are there on the ground. When it had COVID-19, the social workers was there at the ground. The ministry sent out their social workers, and we had to function and to meet the needs because a lot of people, and even out of COVID-19, the pandemic, we had the suicide prevention hotline was launched as a result of it. And again, it's from the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. And I want to take this time to thank the executive of the ministry for this, that, you know, they're recognizing that the need of the people of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and they're providing services. So it's to bring in that service to people so they could get the best and live the best life that they can in this country.
Yeah. All right. Tell me about some of the pros and cons to being a social worker.
So some of the pros and cons. Some of the cons.
Start with the cons one time. Go ahead. Let me hear.
Okay, so let me start with the pros. Some of the pros that as a social worker, we get the opportunity to network, to meet people, to advocate on clients' behalf, employment. And some of the cons, sometimes social workers do get burnt out because we have to work. Sometimes we work, yes, we might it be 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. However, some of us do work on a weekend, nights, and so forth. So it depends on the needs of the agency. So some of the pros is that, you know, we get to interact, we get to advocate for the clients and represent our employers when necessary.
So who do social workers go to when they get burnt out?
So I can speak to the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. We have the Employee Assistance Program, and when we are feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, we utilize that service, or we can also use each other, colleagues, to bounce and vent as a result.
Now, I heard people saying that, you know, oftentimes social workers' families are directly affected by the work that they do because they spend so much time trying to fix other people's families that sometimes their families suffer. What would you say to that?
Right. It had to look, as social worker, we have to mitigate our time and resources and making up, separating what, you know, prioritizing what is family time, what is work. So when we finish work, we have to leave it by the gates.
How
So
difficult
set boundaries. It is difficult because before you're anything, first you are a human being.
Right.
But however, you must set boundaries as a person, and I mean not even for social workers alone, but for human being on the whole, to have that life that is balanced, boundaries needs to be set. So when you're in your workplace, yes, you are the social worker, yes, you want to help people, but then after you also need to set that same boundary. So when you reach home, it is family time, it is important. The same thing you're doing for your client, you also have to do for yourself. So as a social worker, you is your first client.
That's a good point, dear. The first client. All right, so the theme for this year, Buen, Vivir, Shared Future for Transformative Change. What does that mean inside the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services?
So if you look at all the services that the Ministry of Social Development offer, we offer inclusion, mutual respect, we advocacy on the rights for the client, we look at mutual understanding and providing that kind of service for the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay. So we're trying to make the place better by just providing all these services and making
to
sure.
meet the needs of Trinidad, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And the thing about it, we have, it come like we have a whole 24 hours. If something happen, the citizens' needs come first. It is about providing that optimum service to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So if you look at the policies, the programs that are being offered by the ministry, it is people-centered.
Yeah. Do we have enough social workers in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I could definitely say no, but right, we don't have enough to the population. However, I am seeing where efforts are being made so that we have more social workers being trained. So when I would have trained in how many moons ago, it would have had only the University of the West Indies, but to date we have now 4 or 5 different universities offering social work.
Okay.
So now they see the evolving of the profession.
All right, nice. Tell me about the role of the Family Services Division and all this.
Right, so the role of the National Family Services Division offers services to the client of Trinidad and Tobago, and one such service is counseling for individuals, family, community groups. We also do the parenting unit. We also offer services in parenting skills and co-parenting. In addition to, we have the suicide prevention hotline, and where we bring, and then recently on board comes the HIV unit. So we have those programs under the NFS remits.
I am really curious as to, I don't know if you can share, but some of the things that would have come out from the Family Services Division when it comes to some of the challenges that families face in Trinidad and Tobago, things that you see recurring, that you might see common themes recurring when we chat with the citizens. Anything comes to mind?
Well, the thing about it, a lot of persons don't understand some of these services being offered to them, or they automatically, because of one person experience, they quickly exclude themselves and say, no, this is not for me.
Right.
And in truth and in fact, because they don't know, they don't realize that these services are free. All the services of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services are free to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. So as a result, because of lack of knowledge, they don't get the full benefits.
But if you're telling me you're a little bit short-staffed when it comes to the amount of social workers we have via the population, right? And if it is that we're saying, all right, I'm offering this service for free, and I want this service, or I don't want this service. When I take this service, how many chances do I get to meet with a social worker? Because, I mean, if it is that you'll have a lot going on, a lot of families to see, how often, because I imagine it would take more than one sitting to sort out the problems that persons would face, families would face, etc.
Right. So because it is a relationship between you and your client, some person might come and only need one. So to you might say you might need 10.
Right.
But for some person, they might need one session. Then the next person might need a whole 10 session.
Yeah.
And then we have, because social work is a profession, we are guided by principles and policies. So we might, because of a crisis, you might just need 3 or 6 sessions. So it depends on every individual. No, it can be one brush fit all. It depends on the client's need.
All right. Very, very interesting stuff. If people want to become social workers, you mentioned that they have a bunch of places, you mentioned some of the degrees, but what sort of mindset do they need to have to be prepared for this job?
First thing I would say, social work had to be a heart. It had to be from inside, because social workers don't get $1 million. It is from intrinsic motivation that, yes, I want to help people. Yes, I want to. So yes, you want to help. You're having this burning desire to help this person, or you want to change society. But it comes down to having that love for people. You want change in a country, this is what I want. So yes, you have to come with those kind of quality, that love, that open-mindedness, and non-judgmental. According to Felix Bistek, we don't judge people, we accept you as you come, and we work with you from there. So you have to be non-judgmental, open-minded, to help the client.
Yeah, but if it is that you're telling me you need to do this from your heart, right? And you see some of these situations that people are in. So, full disclosure, my mom was a social worker.
Excellent.
And I used to drive her around to some of the visits when she had to do different visits. And it would break my heart to see some of the conditions people are living in, or some of the conditions that students have to operate in, or work in, or whatever the case may be. So how do you brace yourself for that while still having that open heart and not getting it broken?
All right, so because of training, and what is critical in training, you are prepared. There's hence the reason that the practicum hours, you're trained in different settings, knowing that sometimes you go to some person home, they live in humble beginning. Are we to judge? No, according to Felix, we said we're supposed to be non-judgmental. Yeah. We reach the client where they are at.
Even if you're not judging, doesn't it break your heart a little bit?
Yes,
sometimes?
It's still being hence the reason now, it breaks in your heart, but then after that, emotional control involvement. There's a next. So you can't say, oh man, you and the client, they're crying together. So they're not supposed to. So because it is a profession, and because we have to be professional, we have to at least give that client the best service so they could come back to equilibrium.
All right, Simone, before we wrap up, I just want you to wish the nation a happy World Social Work Day.
On behalf of Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, the executive of the ministry, I want to wish everyone a happy World Social Work Day. More so, I want to tell my colleagues, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For far long, we don't have that opportunity to say thanks, and on behalf of the Ministry of Social Development and the executive, I want to say thank you and continue doing the good work. One day we will meet what we individually desire and collectively.
Thank you, Simone, for joining us this morning, for sharing with us and for taking the time out to explain a lot of this to us.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem at all. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Simone Alexander-Jakie, the coordinator of Suicide Prevention Hotline at the National Family Services Division, representing the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services. We take a quick break and we come back with more in our morning show. Stick around. Thank you. We'll get some dressing.
Nice that you